Grab a totally normal deck of cards, shuffle them up, and pull out exactly 10 cards. Now, could you predict exactly how many of those are going to be diamonds? Math says yes, absolutely. But reality? Well, reality says it's a little more complicated.
So, if you draw 10 cards, how many will actually be diamonds? This simple little question right here. It's actually the absolute perfect way to understand one of the biggest tensions in all of statistics. We're talking about the epic battle between what a perfect mathematical formula predicts and what actually happens when you get your hands dirty in the real world.
By the end of this lecture, you're going to know exactly how to test messy, real-world empirical data against a flawless, theoretical probability distribution. We're going to break this concept down step by step, look at the actual formulas, and apply it directly to our playing card experiment.
All right, Section 1, setting up the experiment. Okay, let's set up our lab. We're not just staring at textbook formulas today. We are creating our own data set. All you need is a standard 52-card deck. Here is exactly what we're going to do. 1. Shuffle the deck. 2. Pick a card at random. 3. Record if it's a diamond or not. And 4, and guys, this is absolutely crucial, put the card back and reshuffle. We have to replace it so the starting conditions never ever change. We'll repeat this exact process 10 times. Let's call our main variable x. So x is just the total number of diamonds we pulled across those 10 tries.
Wait, hold on. Before we draw a single card, let's figure out our baseline. I want you to quickly calculate the pure mathematical probability of pulling a single diamond from that deck. How many diamonds are in there, and what are your odds on just one pull?
Right, there are 13 diamonds in a standard deck. 13 divided by 52 gives us exactly 1 in 4, or 0.25. That's a 25% chance of pulling a diamond every single time you draw. Lock that baseline number in your head, because now we're going to run the trials and see what our real-world numbers actually look like.
Moving on to Section 2, the empirical real-world data.
Let's get into the messy part. Think of empirical data like a house built by hand. You've got a perfect blueprint for that house. That's the math. But the actual physical house, it might have a floorboard that squeaks, or a window that's just slightly off-center. That's because physical reality has natural, unpredictable imperfections. Formally, empirical data is simply data collected from an actual observation or physical experiment. When you physically pull those 10 cards and tally up the suits, you are gathering empirical data. To organize all this real-world messiness, we use something called relative frequency. This just tracks exactly how often 0, 1, 2, or up to 10 diamonds actually showed up during our test.
This table layout is how we map out the real world. X is the number of diamonds, anywhere from 0 to 10. Frequency is how many times you actually got that exact number of diamonds. And relative frequency is just the percentage of the time it happened overall. We use this data to calculate our empirical mean, which we call x bar, and our empirical standard deviation, s. And remember, this is based solely on what we observed with our own eyes.
If we graph this empirical data out as a histogram, you'll notice it looks kind of jagged. It is rarely a nice, smooth curve. Maybe literally nobody in the room got exactly 2 diamonds, but somehow 5 people got 4 diamonds. The real-world shape almost always has these unexpected peaks and really high variance.
Which brings us to Section 3, the theoretical math distribution.
So now that we understand the jagged reality of the physical experiment, let's look at the perfect mathematical blueprint. Enter the probability distribution function, or PDF. This is the mathematical formula predicting the exact likelihood of each outcome. Theoretically, since we have a fixed number of trials, 10 draws, and we replace the card every single time to keep that probability locked at 0.25, our variable x follows what we call a binomial distribution. The math generates a flawless, mathematically perfect prediction for our 10 pulls, and we don't even have to touch a deck of cards. We can map the math out perfectly in a new table. X is still 0 through 10, but now instead of observing real frequencies, we use the binomial formula to calculate p of x, the precise theoretical probability of getting exactly that many diamonds. This perfectly smooth mathematical distribution gives us our theoretical mean, represented by the Greek letter mu, and our theoretical standard deviation, represented by sigma.
Now for Section 4, comparing theory and reality.
All right, now you might be asking, wait a minute. If the math is this proven, flawless formula, why doesn't our real-world empirical table perfectly match our theoretical math table? Honestly, this is one of the most common spots where students get stuck. But look at the results side by side.
Left side are empirical mean and standard deviation from the actual physical card pulls. Right side, the perfect theoretical math. There are always going to be slight, natural differences. Why? Because the formula calculates the likelihood over infinite possibilities. But our hands-on experiment? It only happened a few times. Random chance, literally the luck of the draw, makes the physical world deviate from the formula in the short term.
Let's do a quick retention check to make sure we're all on the same page. Let's focus on just one specific outcome. Exactly 3 diamonds out of 10. Does the pure mathematical probability of getting 3 diamonds, p of x equals 3, exactly equal the relative frequency of what actually happened in reality? Think about it for a second. The answer is almost always no. The math might say there's a 25% chance, but in your actual physical experiment, it might have happened 35% of the time, or maybe just 10%.
We can walk through comparing different ranges too. What about the chance of pulling between 1 and 4 diamonds, or the extremely rare event of pulling 8 or more? When you compare these probability groups from the formula directly to the actual relative frequency from the experiment, you see that reality varies from the perfect distribution. However, there is a statistical secret to making them match up.
And that is Section 5, the long-term truth.
So why do these discrepancies eventually resolve themselves? It all comes down to this critical concept right here, long-term probability. As an experiment is repeated more and more times, the empirical data converges with the theoretical distribution. Remember that house and blueprint analogy? With only 10 trials, the real-world data varies wildly. But if we drastically increase our sample size, like if we build 10,000 houses, the built house averages out to look exactly like the perfect blueprint.
Let's make this totally concrete with the ultimate question. If we repeated this exact card-pulling experiment 500 times instead of just 10, which of our 2 tables would actually change? This right here brilliantly illustrates the core truth of statistics. The theoretical table on the right, it stays exactly the same. The mathematical formula never, ever changes. But the empirical table on the left changes significantly. As we scale up from 10 to 100 to 500 repetitions, that empirical relative frequency table shifts. It smooths out its jagged edges and moves closer and closer to perfectly matching the math.
Let's summarize exactly what we've learned today. Knowing that data vary, long-term probabilities show reality catching up to the math. Individual physical experiments are messy, they're unpredictable, full of natural variance. But sufficient repetition forces real-world empirical data to accurately reflect those discrete mathematical distributions. Basically, the noise fades away and the mathematical truth remains.
We used a simple deck of playing cards today, but this tension between messy reality and perfect math, it is literally happening all around you. How often a traffic light turns red, how many chocolate chips actually end up in a cookie. So what everyday experiment will you test against the math next? Start looking for these distributions in your daily life, because understanding this